WWDC is literally days away, and in this video I want to talk to you about all the leaks, all the rumours for hardware that we can expect to see at this event. I will be doing another video following up this about the software because it's a whole other can of worms that we can get into. First piece of hardware we're expecting to see, or we'd like to see, is Airtight. They're more or less confirmed at this point from the Apple video that they put up on the support page for their website that said AirTags in it on their YouTube channel, and there's been references to it in iOS. The reason they reformatted the Find My iPhone app to Find My is because they're accommodating for this new aspect of it, where you know that there's going to be sort of like an AR feature possibly, where you follow a balloon with your phone, holding your phone up, and you follow your balloon to where the device is to find your keys, whatever it is. We're hoping this won't be too expensive. It'll probably emit the U1 chip. That's probably why they have it in the iPhone, the ultra low band frequency chip. And it'll be capable of emitting a sound that will let you know where it is, similar to what the Apple Watch does with the iPhone, or what you can do with the Find My app currently with different devices. Next piece of tech we're hoping to see at this event is the ARM MacBooks. Now this isn't confirmed, this is a wild card, but we're expecting more or less to see the software side of this device. You know, the announcement shipping maybe this fall a 12-inch MacBook with maybe mediocre specs for the price, but maybe an A14X chip and a bigger battery life, thinner design. This will be Apple's device to show what they can do if they make all the stuff. It'll probably have Face ID as well. Please God. Because if you look at the devices that have Face ID at the moment, the iPhone X, which was the thinnest device to have Face ID, is literally millimeters thin. And yet they still don't have Face ID in the MacBooks, which they could just make the lids a bit thicker, which personally I don't think people would mind because they're not really looking at how thin the device is. Also, you could have a 1080p webcam with that. Fun fact, did you know Apple's goal for the MacBook lineup is to eventually have it as thin as a piece of paper? You can unsub if you like. Another piece of tech we're expecting to see is a new iMac refresh, because with getting rid of the Fusion drive, we're expected to see a 23-inch iMac, and we're expected to see thinner bezels, iPad Pro and Pro Display XDR style of design. Hopefully it won't be a cheese grater design like the Pro Display XDRs, but we're expected to see it stay at 5K, no XDR tech, maybe HDR tech inside of it, because that's gone fairly cheap nowadays to implement at mass scale. But for the most part, these things will not have XDR tech. Maybe they might have a 27-inch iMac with 6K and XDR tech, and they might throw in the 28-core Xeon processors, and they might throw in, I don't know, 128 gigs of ECC memory and 4 terabytes of SSD as sort of like an iMac Pro replacement, because I can very see them changing the Mac lineup. So you just have iMac, Mac Mini, MacBooks and Mac Pro. Get the Mac Pro if you want your upgradability, your modularity and your pro level device, I suppose you could call it. But if you want your all-in-one iMac design, but you want the power of a Mac Pro, you could potentially get this design and it will give you all the specs but without the modularity. Of course, they would probably let you open up the display if you wanted to take that risk and upgrade the RAM, because as we learned in the iMac Pro from various teardowns, and Linus Tech Tips talked about this, the CPU and the RAM modules are upgradable inside the iMac Pro, so potentially we could see this in newer iMacs. It just makes it for easier configurations. Obviously it would make for consumer end replacements to be a bit more difficult, because you'd have to take into account the fact that you have to remove the warranty void if removed stickers from the fan modules to take off the fans and the cooling system, which a lot of people will not be willing to do, because as we learned from Linus Tech Tips, when he took apart his iMac Pro and it got damaged during the repair process of fixing it back, it is very difficult to get service for very niche products from Apple. For example, Mac Pro. If you drop your Mac Pro, or if it gets a nasty bang and there's a dent in the casing, you're probably going to pay top dollar to get a replacement for that case, and they probably won't be able to give you service for it. It's just the way Apple is, unless you buy Apple Care, because realistically, who's going to damage an all-in-one unless it gets dropped in transit? Another thing we're expected to see, and this is highly rumoured, and I did a video about this ages ago, AirPod Studio. Similar to Beat Studio, we're going to be getting over-the-ear headphones with modular ear cushions and modular sound drivers, potentially subwoofers, things like that. I'm not an audio guy, but I'm assuming this will have the same AirPods tech where you just hold them close, and then they'll have the W2 chip or W3 chip maybe to pair. Better battery life in these, we're assuming, since they're bigger they can have better battery. You won't have the problem of one earpod going more quiet than the other, similar to what I have going on in my Motorola Verve Buds now. Sometimes the earbuds just stop working sometimes. They go a bit more quiet eventually if they're truly wireless, because of the fact that they're smaller batteries and the batteries are separate from each other. Another thing we're expected to see, and they'll probably gloss over this or do it in a site refresh after the Mac, after the WWDC, is the Apple TV 4K Gen 2, you could call it maybe. Obviously I did a video about this a while ago as well when John Prosser leaked this. It is ready to go, and it's just waiting for an Apple Store refresh or an event. They could use this as an opportunity to talk about their new Apple Arcade and Apple TV Plus, built specifically for this, because they would have an upgrade from an A8 processor to an A12X processor, which would be a substantial step up. They could market this as the ultimate tool for Apple Arcade and Apple TV Plus for the whole family to enjoy, because they brought the multi-user support into tvOS that a lot of people forget last year. So that is the hardware we are expected to see at WWDC 2020. That's all for me, and I'll catch you next one.